My boyfriend's unemployed sister was mad he stopped supporting her to save for our wedding, then she got pregnant to force him to choose. I, 24 female, have been with my boyfriend Ronald, 26 male, for a year and a half. We met through mutual friends at a work event and hit it off immediately. We both have steady jobs. I work as an accountant at a mid-sized firm while he works in IT. When it comes to money, we've always been very clear about splitting things 50-50. Neither of us has ever expected the other to pay for anything. If he pays for dinner one night, I get the next one. We even split our vacation costs down the middle last month. It's just how we both prefer things. The main issue involves Ronald's sister Julie, 23 female. She lost her job 3 months ago from a retail store where she worked as a sales assistant. This wasn't her first job. She's had several over the past few years but never stays anywhere long. From what Ronald told me, she usually quits because she feels the work is beneath her or because she has conflicts with management. The longest she's held a job was 8 months at a coffee shop. I should mention that before all this drama started, Julie and I got along pretty well. We would go shopping together sometimes, and I always remembered her birthday and Christmas with thoughtful gifts. She even confided in me about her relationship problems a few times. I really thought we had a good relationship building. The current situation started because Julie doesn't have a driver's license or car. She failed her driver's test twice and gave up trying, saying it was too stressful. This means Ronald has been her primary transportation for years. He drives her to job interviews, grocery shopping, doctor appointments, basically anywhere she needs to go. He's always asked her for gas money, about 100 rand per week. We live in South Africa. This seemed fair since he was basically being her personal driver. 3 weeks ago, things changed. Julie handed Ronald only 30 rand for the week. When he asked where the rest was, she got really hostile. She said she wasn't paying the full amount anymore because Ronald drives me around for free, which she called unfair. This made no sense because I have my own car and license. I've never once asked Ronald to drive me anywhere. I'm perfectly capable of driving myself. This incident sparked a huge argument between them. Julie started bringing up how Ronald doesn't help her with other bills anymore because he's saving for an engagement ring for me. I had no idea before this that Ronald used to pay any of her bills. Apparently, he used to help her with rent, utilities, and even gave her spending money sometimes. He stopped doing this about 6 months ago when we started talking about getting engaged and saving for our future. When I heard about the engagement ring thing, I immediately offered to help pay for it. Ronald refused, saying he wants to do this himself. I respect that, but it bothers me that Julie is using it against him. Their parents aren't much help in this situation. Their dad works as a mechanic and their mom is a part-time receptionist. They barely make enough to cover their own expenses, let alone help Julie. Whenever Ronald tries to talk to them about the situation, they just say he and Julie need to sort it out themselves. The situation has gotten more complicated because Julie started telling extended family members that Ronald abandoned her because of me. She's been saying I manipulated him into stopping his financial support of her. This isn't true at all. Like I said, I didn't even know he was helping her until this all blew up. Now some family members are taking sides. Ronald's aunts think he has a responsibility to help his sister, while his cousins think Julie needs to grow up and stand on her own feet. I learned more about their family history from Ronald recently. After their dad had a workplace injury when Julie was 15, Ronald started working part-time at a local supermarket to help with household expenses. He even delayed going to college for 2 years so he could work full-time and help pay for Julie's school fees. He's always been the responsible one, picking up the slack when their parents struggled. The tension is really affecting Ronald. Last night, he told me he feels torn between his responsibility to his sister and his desire to build a future with me. Julie has been sending him guilt-tripping messages daily, saying things like he used to be a better brother before he met me. I want to help somehow but don't know what to do. Ronald asked me not to get involved because he thinks it will make things worse. Julie barely speaks to me anymore at family gatherings, and when she does, it's with this cold, resentful tone. Yesterday she made a Facebook post about how some people pretend to be nice but actually destroy families. Everyone knew she was talking about me. Ronald's mom called me yesterday asking if I could convince Ronald to help Julie until she finds another job. I politely told her I can't interfere in their relationship. Honestly, I don't think Julie is trying very hard to find work. She spends most days watching TV shows and browsing social media. She hasn't updated her resume in months, and when Ronald sends her job listings, she always has an excuse for why they're not good enough. I feel stuck in the middle of all this family drama. Should I try talking to Julie directly? Keep staying out of it. Ronald is reaching his breaking point with her attitude, but I don't want to be blamed for destroying their relationship. Any advice would be appreciated. Edit, thanks for all the responses. Most people are saying I should stay out of it, which makes sense. Some asked about Julie's job history. She's had 4 jobs in the last 2 years but kept quitting because she felt they were beneath her education level. She has a diploma in business administration. She once quit a receptionist position after 2 weeks because her supervisor asked her to make coffee for clients. Update 1. The situation has gotten much worse than I could have imagined. Last night around 9 p.m., Julie showed up at our apartment unannounced. She was crying hysterically, mascara running down her face, clutching an electricity disconnection notice. The power company was threatening to cut off her service the next morning if she didn't pay 2,000 rand immediately. Ronald was surprised to see her since she hasn't visited our place in months. She started begging him for money, saying she had already asked everyone else she knew and had nowhere else to turn. When Ronald hesitated, she turned to me directly and said if I really loved Ronald and wanted to be part of their family, I would understand how important it is to help family members in need. I stayed quiet during this exchange, but I could see Ronald getting increasingly frustrated. He asked Julie why she hadn't paid her electricity bill for 3 months, which apparently came as a surprise to him. She made excuses about applying for jobs and waiting to hear back, but we later found out she had spent money on a new iPhone instead of paying her bills. When Ronald refused to give her the money, Julie completely broke down. She started screaming about how I've changed him, saying he was never this heartless before meeting me. Then she dropped a bombshell that I had no idea about. She revealed that Ronald had made a promise to their grandmother on her deathbed that he would always take care of Julie. Their grandmother had raised them a lot while their parents worked, and she passed away when Julie was 16. Ronald had taken this promise very seriously for years. This revelation visibly shook Ronald. I could see him struggling with the guilt as Julie kept bringing up memories of their grandmother and how disappointed she would be in him now. After about 20 minutes of this emotional manipulation, Ronald finally gave in and transferred money for her electricity bill. But he was clearly upset about it, and told Julie this was the last time he would help her. Julie left shortly after getting the money, but the drama wasn't over. The next morning, she made several social media posts about how family should always come first and how some promises should never be broken. She didn't name Ronald directly, but posted old photos of them with their grandmother, talking about how some people forget their roots when they get new relationships. The posts got a lot of attention from their family. Several relatives commented supporting Julie, saying Ronald has changed since meeting me and suggesting I'm a bad influence. His Aunt Maria, who I've only met twice at family gatherings, actually messaged me directly on Facebook. She said I should be ashamed of myself for coming between siblings and accused me of trying to cut Ronald off from his family so I could control him. I showed Ronald the message, and he was furious. He called his aunt and had a heated argument with her, which only made things worse. Now the whole extended family is involved in the drama. Some are defending Ronald's right to build his own life, while others insist he's betraying his family obligations. The situation reached a breaking point when Ronald's parents finally got involved after seeing all the social media drama. They called and insisted on having a family meeting this weekend to sort everything out. They want everyone involved to be there, me, Ronald, Julie, and them. Ronald's mom specifically said I need to come since I'm part of the problem and need to be part of the solution. Ronald is standing firm about us attending together, saying if I'm not welcome then he won't go either. But I'm really nervous about this meeting. Julie has already shown she's willing to use emotional manipulation and bring up the past to get her way. I'm worried she'll have more ammunition prepared for the family meeting. Last night, Ronald admitted to me that he's been struggling with guilt over his grandmother's promise. He explained that she had been worried about Julie even back then, seeing how dependent and unmotivated she was compared to Ronald. The promise had seemed natural at the time, he was already taking care of Julie anyway. But now he feels trapped between honoring his grandmother's dying wish and building a future with me. I tried to suggest that taking care of Julie doesn't necessarily mean financially supporting her forever, that maybe his grandmother would have wanted Julie to become independent eventually. But Ronald isn't sure. He's worried that by pulling back financial support, he's not just failing Julie but also disrespecting his grandmother's memory. The family meeting is scheduled for Saturday afternoon at his parents' house. Ronald's younger cousin warned us that Julie has been telling everyone who will listen about how I forced Ronald to abandon her. She's apparently been calling relatives crying about how she might become homeless because her own brother won't help her. I don't know how to prepare for this meeting or what to say. Should I defend myself against their accusations? Stay quiet and let Ronald handle it? I feel like no matter what I do, I'll be seen as the villain who came between a brother and sister. Ronald says we should present a united front, but I'm worried that will only make his family resent me more. I'll update again after the family meeting. Given how things have been escalating, I'm not very optimistic about how it will go. Edit, thank you for all the supportive comments. For those asking, yes, Ronald knows about the private messages his aunt sent me. He's furious about it but wants to address everything at the family meeting rather than having multiple separate confrontations. Update 2. The family meeting was even worse than we expected. It started civilly enough in Ronald's parents' living room, with everyone sitting awkwardly and making small talk. But things quickly went downhill when Ronald's mom tried to mediate. Julie spent the first hour bringing up every perceived slight and injustice from their childhood. She claimed Ronald got more attention because he was the responsible one. She talked about how their parents had paid for Ronald's laptop when he started college but wouldn't buy her a car. She even brought up incidents from when they were kids, like Ronald getting a bigger bedroom because he studied more. Ronald tried to explain that the laptop was necessary for his IT course, while she had wanted the car just to go shopping with friends. This only made Julie more upset. She accused their parents of always taking Ronald's side and making excuses for favoring him. Then came the bombshell that silenced everyone. Julie announced she's 3 months pregnant. She started crying, saying she'd been trying to hide it but couldn't anymore. The father, some guy she dated briefly 2 months ago, isn't involved and doesn't want to be. She used this revelation to pile more guilt on Ronald, saying he's not just abandoning his sister now, but his future niece or nephew too. Ronald was completely blindsided. He just sat there, looking shocked. His parents immediately shifted into grandparent mode, forgetting all about the original purpose of the meeting. They started talking about turning their home office into a nursery and how the baby needs a stable environment. That's when they dropped their suggestion. They think Ronald should delay our wedding plans to help Julie through her pregnancy. Their logic was that weddings are expensive, and that money could help Julie prepare for the baby instead. They even suggested we postpone moving in together so Julie could stay in Ronald's apartment since it's closer to their house. Ronald refused immediately, causing another huge argument. His mom started crying about family obligations and how Julie needs support now more than ever. His dad brought up their grandmother again, saying she would have wanted them to stick together in hard times. I had been quiet most of the meeting, trying to stay out of it. But when they started talking about postponing our wedding, I finally spoke up. I said while we care about Julie and the baby, we won't put our lives on hold. I pointed out that Julie's pregnancy was her choice and responsibility, not Ronald's. Julie ran out crying, and Ronald's mom told me I was being heartless. She said I couldn't understand because I'm not a mother or even a sister. Ronald defended me, saying we've been planning our future for months and it's not fair to expect us to change everything because of Julie's situation. The meeting ended with everyone upset. As we were leaving, Ronald's aunt pulled him aside and said their grandmother would be ashamed of him choosing a girlfriend over his sister's welfare. Ronald finally snapped and told her to stop using their grandmother to manipulate him. Over the next few days, Julie sent Ronald multiple messages about doctor's appointments and baby expenses. She even sent links to baby furniture websites, hinting about what she needs. Ronald's parents keep calling, trying to convince him to reconsider helping more. Yesterday, Julie posted an ultrasound photo on Facebook with a long caption about how sad it is that some babies won't get to know their uncle because he's too busy with his new life. Several family members commented with support for her and subtle digs at Ronald and me. Ronald is devastated about the baby news but also angry at Julie for using it to manipulate him. He feels like she got pregnant without any plan, just expecting everyone else to take care of her, like always. He wants to be involved in his niece or nephew's life but doesn't want to sacrifice our future to support them. We're now seriously considering moving to a different city where Ronald's company has an office. We both feel like we need space from all this drama, and distance might help establish better boundaries. Ronald still wants to help with the baby, but in a way that doesn't involve surrendering his whole life to his sister's needs. I'll update again once we figure out what we're going to do. Right now, we're just trying to stay strong together while dealing with daily guilt trips from his family. Edit, for those asking, yes, Julie confirms she's keeping the baby. She says adoption is not an option because family should stay with family, ironic given the situation. Update 3. I wanted to give everyone a final update on how things turned out. Ronald and I did end up moving to another city 3 months ago. His company had an office here, and I was able to transfer within my firm too. The distance has been good for us. We're finally able to focus on our relationship without constant family drama. Julie had her baby last month, a little girl named Rose. Ronald went back for the birth and spent a few days there. He sends money for the baby every month and wants to be involved in his niece's life, but from a safe distance. We agreed on a fixed amount that he sends for Rose, which helps maintain clear boundaries. The move wasn't easy. Ronald's parents initially acted like we were abandoning the family. His mom didn't speak to us for a month after we announced our decision. But something unexpected happened. Julie actually started getting her life together once she realized we weren't going to be her safety net anymore. She found a part-time job at a local shop that allows her to bring Rose to work. It's not much, but it's the longest she's held a job. She lives with her parents now, which seems to work better for everyone. They help with the baby while she works, and she helps them around the house. Julie still occasionally tries to guilt Ronald about moving away. Last week she sent him photos of Rose with captions like missing her uncle and wish you were here to see her grow up. But they're less manipulative than before. I think having Rose has given her something to focus on besides Ronald's life choices. Our wedding is planned for next spring. We decided on a small ceremony with just close friends and the family members who have supported us. Ronald's cousin Sarah, who always stood by us during the drama, will be one of my bridesmaids. Ronald's parents are invited, and they've finally come around. His mom called last week to apologize for pressuring us about the wedding postponement. She admitted they were enabling Julie's dependency and that our moving away forced everyone to make necessary changes. Julie isn't coming to the wedding. We sent her an invitation to be polite, but she declined, saying it would be too difficult with the baby. I think that's for the best. We're civil now when we have to interact at major family events, but we're not close anymore and probably never will be. Ronald still struggles sometimes with guilt about his grandmother's promise. But he's realized that truly taking care of Julie meant letting her stand on her own feet. He's a wonderful uncle to Rose, video chats with her weekly, and makes sure she has everything she needs. But he no longer feels responsible for supporting his adult sister. Looking back, this whole situation taught us a lot about setting boundaries with family. While it's sad that some relationships were damaged, we know we made the right choice in prioritizing our future together. Ronald is happier now that he's not carrying the weight of his sister's life on his shoulders. I won't be updating again since this chapter of our lives is finally closed. Thank you to everyone who supported us through this journey. Sometimes the hardest part of growing up is learning that you can love your family while still living your own life. Edit. Some asked about the baby's father. He signed away his parental rights and wants nothing to do with Rose. Julie seems okay with this now, saying Rose has enough family who love her.